the Celtics survive another slow start from Tatum, Wendy?
They can. I mean, here's what I want to say about this. Obviously, Tatum doesn't want to go 0 for 5. He actually started 0 for 8 and then 0 for 6 in the last 2 games. That's not what you want from him. But there's a feeling that this has got to be a Jayson Tatum bailout game. Just because a year ago, in this same spot up in Milwaukee, where we thought the Celtics season was over, he puts in 46, which, guys, it was one of the best performances I've seen in person in a playoff setting. On the road, closeout or elimination game, that performance. And so there's like, oh man, he's going to do it again. But I think that's a mistake. I think there's actually been a little bit too much Jayson Tatum in this series. And certainly in the back end of Game 5, he was trying to do it all himself. Ends up taking 27 shots. Jaylen Brown is the guy who has the matchup advantage against the 76ers. And Jaylen Brown's not getting the ball enough. Tatum has 22 more shots than Brown over the first 5 games of this series. There are whole quarters where Jaylen Brown doesn't get an opportunity to attack, and that's a mistake because the Sixers have Tobias Harris and PJ Tucker and even DeAnthony Melton. He's had a lot of success guarding Tatum this year and in this series. They don't have anybody that can handle Jaylen Brown. I've watched it in this series. Repeatedly, Jaylen Brown is able to get past his man. And the big challenge for Jaylen Brown is just staying on the court because he keeps getting into foul trouble. So I would say that a big part of the game plan tonight is get Jaylen Brown going. He cannot have 11 fewer shots and probably way fewer usage. I didn't see that number. Way fewer usage as he did in Jayson Tatum in the last game.
Wendy, I'm with you. Can they survive a slow start by Jayson Tatum? You're damn right they can. Mm-hmm. They can do it by a couple of reasons. Number one, Joe Mazzulla not being out-coached by Doc Rivers. Mm-hmm. Like that's the biggest issue, Wendy, when you talk about why Jaylen Brown isn't touching the ball down the stretch. Why isn't JB touching the ball down the stretch? That's strategy. That's in-game adjustments. That's what Joe Mazzulla has to do a better job of. I finally saw him play Al Horford on P.J. Tucker, play off P.J. Tucker, and have Marcus Smart front Joel Embiid. I don't know why we haven't seen more wrinkles in the defense. But I'll give you another way they can survive with a slow start from Jayson Tatum. Actually playing some damn defense. So, you know, Philly shot 50% from the field and 40% from the three-point line. When I'm watching James Harden bring the rock down the court, and he can go left, he can go right, and there's nobody making it uncomfortable or uneasy for him, that's defense. That's pressure on the ball. When I'm watching Joel, they run 3 simple sets. It's a pick and roll with Joel Embiid and James Harden. It's a post up with Joel Embiid, which you can blitz, give different coverages, make him more of a passer. And it's an ISO with James Harden. You can push up on him, shade him towards his right hand, send him into help, force other guys to beat you. Now, I know Maxey and Tobias Harris have had good series. Guys have stepped up. But their main points are coming from those 2 guys. They create a lot of the other points on the floor. If you strap up defensively and utilize your quickness and your defensive prowess, you will win the game. But it starts with that, Stephen A.
Well, I don't disagree with you. They got to play better defense because they're middle of the road defensively, and we're not accustomed to seeing that from this Boston Celtics team. I'm talking about this roster. So definitely it's an indictment against the coach, Mazzulla, as opposed to anybody else, because when you've got the same personnel and the only thing you really did was add Malcolm Brogdon. Okay, Derek White is still there. Al Horford is still there. Marcus Smart, the defensive player of the year last year, is still there. Okay, Tatum and Brown is still there. When you have that in play, there's no reason there should be such a precipitous drop-off defensively, okay, if the coaching is what it's supposed to be. So that's definitely something for Mazzulla to look at. I think he's done a good job. No question about it. He shows that he's a worthy coach in this league. But I think to some degree he's been preoccupied with worrying about what people have to say and trying to come off as if he doesn't care, that it's even more flagrantly obvious that he does care. So in other words, you're looking at it from that perspective, and I think that's something to point out. The other thing, though, is this offensively. Offensively, no matter who your star is, when you got 2 of them, shouldn't you go with the more consistent one? Now, if one is not a star, that would be different. But if you got 2 stars and one of them is consistent, don't you think it would behoove you to get them the ball? Jaylen Brown has scored 23 or more points in all 5 games of this series. This man is averaging 23.6 points on 57% shooting from the field and 43% shooting from three-point range. Why the hell would you not give him the ball? Why would he only take 3 shots in the second half? Why would he not take one single attempt in overtime? Now, I'm going to blame him as much as Missoula because you are enough of a star who's clamoring to be a number 1 option, who should demand the ball or take it. It's not like you didn't touch it. You could do something with it. You have the capability. Damn it, do it. You're Jaylen Brown. That's number 1. Number 2, over the last 4 games, Jayson Tatum is 7-31, 22% from three-point range. Now, he's made some shots, and we know he can, but he obviously is not shooting effectively enough. Get the damn ball to Jaylen Brown.
Do you think AD is the player who most determines the outcome of this series?
Yeah, I think AD determines the outcome of the Lakers' season. If he does go into concussion protocol, and the signs last night were positive for the Lakers, but with concussions, you just have to wait for the next day. It doesn't matter who you are, you just have to wait. If he goes into concussion protocol or he can't play in Game 6, I believe that the Lakers could win a home game. They do have depth. They do have different players they can go to. I wouldn't love their chances, but I would not tell you they couldn't do it. But if they're going to win one of the next 2 games, it's going to have to be with AD at some point. And it's going to have to be with AD in the next round too. LeBron James is a difference-making player, but in the modern NBA and the way these teams are playing and the way the Lakers have constructed this roster, AD is the centerpiece. Everybody there would agree with it, which is why when he doesn't play well, they typically lose. And so he is probably the most pivotal player in the entire NBA playoffs right now. I mean, I am covering this Sixers-Celtics series. These Sixers can win without Joel Embiid being at his best. They've shown their ability to do it. The Nuggets can win without Jokic being at their best. They can do it. I don't think the Lakers can win without, at least multiple games in high-value settings without AD being his best. And I think they would probably agree with that.
Yeah, I would probably push back a little bit on that, Wendy. I don't think Golden State can win without Steph kind of being the next level. He to me, is the best offensive player there is in the playoffs right now. I think that's by a pretty wide margin. I will say this, though. AD has been the best player defensively in the entire playoffs. So his ability to block shots, to alter shots at the rim is uniquely different than any other player. And also, props to AD. And that, not Game 5, Game 4, his ability to guard. Like, there are probably only 2 players in the NBA that could guard Steph off the dribble for not 1 possession, but 2 possessions back to back, in which he was able to move his feet for a guy 7 feet tall, Giannis and Anthony Davis. So that just proved how spectacular he is defensively. But also, I would agree with you, Wendy, the fact that he has to be great offensively as well. But I will say this. I know it's a lot to ask of a LeBron James, Stephen A., at 38 years old, but I watched LeBron James have 40 multiple times this season. I do not put it past the greatest player who's ever played the game.
Second, go ahead.
The greatest player who's ever played the game.
Go ahead.
To have a monster performance. Now, I know he needs to conserve his energy.
Yeah.
I get all that, but they've conserved it for this particular moment. Now, I'm not saying it will be easy, but LeBron James does have those type of games. He settled a lot last night. I think the big thing for LeBron and Darvin Ham is to remember that they are a team built inside out. Last night they played outside in. Started off the game with a couple of jump shots. I think if LeBron James starts to punish the way he did in Game 4, Steph and Clay target those guys on matchups on the block and work inside out, LeBron James still could have a monster game that could still carry Anthony Davis with a subpar performance if he's allowed to play.
Interesting that you say that, because to answer the question specifically, is AD the player who will most determine this series? I was going to say no, it's LeBron James, because of the reasons you just articulated. I believe LeBron James to be the 2nd greatest player in the history of basketball. I know that I asked a question that Wendy wanted me to go and get psychiatric evaluation because I talked about if Steph Curry were to beat him, obviously, but I'm talking resume. There are plenty of players who are not on the Mount Rushmore that were considered better than those of us who say they are. When we think about Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and others, there are plenty of players that we looked at and say they belong in that list. This is not about who's better. We know that Steph Curry ain't better than LeBron James, but a resume would ultimately warrant that kind of conversation. That's all I was trying to say. Having said all of that, the greatness of LeBron James cannot be denied, but it also will be required in order to close out this series. I think LeBron James has to be aggressive. I think he has to come out there looking for his shot and to take over, not just in points, but in terms of running the show. He's got to really be that catalyst and be flagrant with it. He's got to put Golden State on their heels by saying, I'm coming. They got to go like this. In the first few minutes, oh, damn, LeBron James is coming. And you know what he could do, but he can't go the first quarter without attempting a field goal. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. Not in these last two games. And I say the last two because I believe that the Golden State Warriors have a shot to win this game. There's two streaks at stake. Number one, LeBron James is 31-0 whenever he's up 2-0 in a series. 31-0. He's never lost a series. If he's up 2 games, I'm sorry. If he's up 2 games in a series, 31-0. But Steve Kerr is 19-0 in the Western Conference playoffs. When his team is in the playoffs, they haven't lost the series with Steve Kerr as their coach. So those are the two streaks in jeopardy now. And Steph Curry, just looking at his numbers right now, Steph Curry has shot 6 of 25. That's 24% from three-point range in the last 2 games. It's Curry's worst ever 2-game stretch in three-point shooting in a single postseason in his career. He's got to get it going. We understand that. But it comes down to LeBron James. I believe that the Warriors will beat the Los Angeles Lakers in Game 6. I think they can pull it off. I'm not betting my money on it because I understand the Lakers got a distinct advantage, but I think they can do it. And I'm hoping for it. And it has nothing to do with my prediction that the Warriors will win in 7. Here's why I'm hoping for it, Wendy and Jay. In 2016, what did LeBron do?
Came back 3-1.
He overcame a 3-1 deficit. Now, the stimulus package that the NBA gave him, suspending Draymond Green and then Iguodala and Bogut get hurt in that Game 5, that stimulus package that Adam Silver and them gave him, that aside, they still came back from a 3-1 deficit. Can you imagine the storyline if the Golden State Warriors tie this 3-3? Everybody going to bring up how LeBron did it to him. And now Steph Curry got an opportunity to do it back to LeBron James. That's going to be the story going into this weekend if the Golden State Warriors beat the Los Angeles Lakers Friday night. And boy, don't you think for one second that LeBron ain't going to feel that. And I think it will cause LeBron James to rise and Steph Curry will rise. And we will have one of the most epic Game 7s we've ever seen if that scenario plays out. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.